A good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Cheddar's Opening Bell. Klaviyo, a software platform to help e-commerce businesses convert their web traffic into sales, has raised some pretty serious fresh funding. Klaviyo raised about $200 million in Series C funding, and that values the company now at $4 billion. Now, the round was led by Accel with participation from existing Investor Summit partners, and that brings the startup's total funding now to $358.5 million. So joining us now is Andrew Bialecki, the co-founder and CEO of Klaviyo. Andrew, great to have you here. Thanks so much for joining us. So where are you going to be deploying all this fresh capital?
Oh man, we have so many things to do. So at Klaviyo, we're a customer data and messaging platform. We've got hundreds of thousands of businesses that use us to talk with their customers in a very human way. Our ultimate vision is that businesses, really anybody, will be able to clone themselves, onto a computer, onto our servers, and then be available to talk with their customers 24/7. They won't be limited by when they're awake or things like that. So we have a lot to do, both on the technology side, and then we're mostly a U.S.-based company today. We have a lot of growing to do in other markets.
By the way, that's about 5%. The funding round that you just got is about only, what, 5% of your entire total worth of the company. That's pretty impressive for a company that's pretty new to already have a $4 billion valuation already.
Yeah, it may feel like an overnight success story. We were founded in 2012, and we spent the first 3 or 4 years growing without any funding. So it feels like it's been a long time coming, but I think it just shows that what we're up to is really resonating with a lot of businesses.
So let's talk about what the customers you're hearing from regarding their needs during the pandemic. What have they been telling you that's been working for them, and things that they need from you guys during the pandemic?
Yeah, totally. So we work with a lot of businesses that are digitally native, and now during the pandemic, a lot of businesses that are shifting their customer experiences online. And we think that's kind of a macro trend. We think there's this larger movement that more and more businesses and customers are going to be building relationships over the internet. They're going to be digital experiences, and they're going to be more self-serve, lower touch experiences, things where I don't necessarily have to talk to a person in real time to get information. So we, because of that, we have a lot of businesses that are, we're traditionally physical businesses, or we're reliant on talking with reps. They're coming to us to build direct relationships with their customers. So it's about building an email newsletter list, connecting with folks over SMS and text messaging. And they're doing this because historically, at least with digital channels, you kind of only have the choice of either going yourself, building these own relationships, or being reliant on Amazon, Facebook, Google, really renting their data. And so with Klaviyo, what we've tried to build is a platform that allows you to own those relationships. And so across email, SMS, you can build direct relationships, build really creative and personalized branded experiences. And then what we add to that is we allow people to measure the results. So it's really easy to tell what's working and what's not, and I think that's what's resonating.
Yeah, and two of those companies in particular, Stripe and Shopify, are two clients that you work with a lot. How are you sort of able to integrate into their technology?
Yeah, so we believe, just the same way that when you and I are having a conversation, you want to have all the information about the person you're talking with. And so Stripe, Shopify, others provide that system of record, that other data set that Klaviyo can copy into its kind of brain, and then we allow marketers and business owners, small business owners, to use that information. I think one of the big things, advice for small businesses is most of them, they have a lot of data, but they're not getting all of the utility out of it. So one of the things that we do is we make it easy to pull that data all in one place, and then ask questions about what kinds of customers do I have, and then craft messaging that's perfect for each of them, and then measure and see what happens. I think the reality is a lot of businesses have a lot of data, either from what their customers are buying, or in some cases, we just make it easy to ask your customers all sorts of questions. What are their preferences? What kinds of content are they interested in? And then allow you to use that for all of your messaging and the experiences you create.
Andrew, long term, is this something that you could see more companies doing in-house, which would make you guys have to do this for other companies, maybe smaller ones that don't have the technological infrastructure to make this work? Would basically long term be a ding for you guys if more of these companies just are like, we can build that infrastructure and keep it in-house?
Yeah, I think we sit at the intersection of database technology, creative tools, and machine learning. I think for a lot of the businesses we work with, those are not core competencies. At the end of the day, they're creators. They're building products, and they're building the experiences that they want to deliver to their customers. I like to think, we're just an extension of what they could do themselves. We're just allowing them to scale, scale their business. So actually, if anything, we kind of started with small businesses. We're seeing, great adoption there. We expect that as we grow, even larger and larger companies, because of the expertise that we're building into our products, into our technology, we're starting to see more and more of those businesses shift over to Klaviyo.
Andrew, what common mistake do you see e-commerce businesses make frequently?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is when you get started, there's this big temptation to leverage existing marketplaces or be overly reliant on advertising to kind of build up customer relationships. And I think people get kind of lured into this idea that, well, that's the way I'll talk to my customers or find new ones. And so the biggest mistake is not investing in building those direct relationships. We call them owned relationships early on. So we'd advise, hey, if you're starting a small business, the first thing you want to do after you have your website is start building out an email newsletter list and start building compelling content and build that into the way that you work. I think we've seen that a lot of the brands that are kind of dominating today are the ones that have invested in that asset for years and years. You can bootstrap it later, but the sooner you get going, the more valuable it will become over time.
You bring up an interesting point, and I think when we look at a company like Amazon, for instance, how they've been able to have dominance over everybody for so long, what do you think has been in the secret sauce that has made them so good? Is it the data and the relationship with customers, and that's made it harder for other e-commerce platforms to really try to take a bite from them?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we think about Amazon as having solved like both the logistics side and the customer experience side. There's other businesses, some that you mentioned, that are great partners of ours that are solving that infrastructure and logistics side. From a customer experience perspective, I think, yeah, the software hasn't been good enough. So when we started, almost 10 years ago, that was the dream. It felt like marketing software was kind of, especially for email, was just sending these unpersonalized kind of billboardy kind of email messages. They just didn't really resonate. So we know that better marketing is more dynamic. And so we said, okay, we're going to take all of your data and we're going to help you use that with every experience. So, if you have 1 million customers or, just even a few thousand, every single one of the experiences, they're going to be personally crafted, and it's all going to be driven, through our logic engine. So we think of a lot of what we're helping do is small businesses basically encode themselves in our software so that the way that they would act to customers individually, as if they were sitting right next to them, they now get to do the same thing. They just get to do it, over digital channels, over the internet, and they get to do it at scale.
Well, congratulations on the funding round. Great stuff clearly happening with you guys. Andrew Bialecki is the co-founder and CEO of Klaviyo. Great to have you here, Andrew. Thank you so much for joining us.